All right, thank you, Stacy. Thank you for allowing us to be here to share a little bit about the Greenwood Promise. Ron is going to give you sort of the background of kind of how we all started and where we all went. I'm sort of the newbie. I've been with the organization about just under 18 months. And so I'm going to just give you an overview of what the Greenwood Promise is and a little nitty-gritty about the budget and some of the money and some of the benefits for me coming into a new organization on the groundwork that Ron did. And then Ron will dive a little deeper in how they got to where we are today. So this is how I describe our mission, because we're really about trying to create a skilled workforce in Greenwood. And that's by providing both personalized support in the schools and tuition-free options to go to college. And so we call it kindergarten to prepare. So we start out in kindergarten, and we go to kindergarten graduations, and we give them this little medallion that basically says, college is possible, and we're going to be here to help make college affordable. Our scholarship, or what our promise is right now, is guaranteeing that any student who grows up in Greenwood County and is zoned in one of those 4 school districts, so kids who go to the school here, if they live in Greenwood, would also be eligible. And with the 2-year program, is completely tuition and mandatory fees free for anyone, any GPA, just go to school at Piedmont. And then we have a few scholarships at Lander. So our goal is to try and remove the financial barrier to get to college. So at Lander, we have some specific degrees. You have to have a life scholarship. It's a limited number because we're not fully funded. You guys, I know, can relate to the idea. You don't have all the money that you want just now, but that's what we're looking to do. And because engineering is a big need in Greenwood as well, we also pay for some scholarships for juniors and seniors engineering students at like Clemson, SC State, the Citadel, USC. So we have limited numbers, so we have about 52 kids right now in the, we'll call it junior and senior portion of our program, and about 179 are going to Piedmont full-time and are guaranteed that they won't have a cost for that part. Part of the reason we're doing this is we want more kids to enroll in college. So this is the data. So we started in 2015 raising money. 2017 was the first year we did scholarships. That first line is the Greenwood Promise students that we've tracked. So or Greenwood County. So 63% of the kids in Greenwood County actually enroll in college full-time. The middle number is South Carolina as a whole, and the bottom number is the surrounding counties. So we like to just kind of measure what we're doing and if it's having an impact. For us, it's about the kids, which I'm sure is why you guys are doing this as well. This is Daniela. She's one of our students. She's a nurse. She was a nursing major. She graduated in May from Lander. She started at Piedmont and transferred to Lander, and that would be sort of the tuition-free path that we're offering right now. The middle picture is Nicole. She's my coworker. She works directly with the kids. She got invited to her pinning ceremony, just to give you a sense of the involvement that we have. And Danielle's a first-generation student. She's now working at Self Hospital in labor and delivery. Her younger brother, Luis, just graduated high school. He's now enrolled in Piedmont. And then she has a younger sister, right? So now this is a whole family's journey that we've been able to impact because of the Greenwood Promise and knowing that college would be tuition free. So we don't pay for everything, we don't pay for books, but it does remove a lot of the hurdles that prevent kids, especially first generation. So that's really what the Greenwood Promise is, and you can't do that without money, which is what we're here to talk about. So this is what I've learned. You heard my background. It's not in nonprofit, it's not in fundraising, it's not in the normal nonprofit space. So what I have learned in the time that, fundraising really is, I'm gonna call it a team sport. I was very fortunate in the groundwork that Ron and the board created by creating an endowment and doing pledges. And so we're just wrapping up our second of 2 5-year pledges. And that's where the group went out into the community and got some people to commit to a certain amount of money each year. What that does for someone like me is help know what might be coming in. It's a pledge. Doesn't mean they can't change their mind. It's not, you're not, written in stone, but it gives us a little bit of a sense of what kind of money is coming in and how we can possibly use that then as we're budgeting and thinking through things. So for me, one of the things that it also helps with having an endowment is weathering any ups and downs in the fundraising cycle, which always is going to happen. Some years people are more generous than other years, and having an endowment where you can kind of live off some of the interest can kind of help stabilize some of the stuff that you're doing. Our past pledge supports, this is the part again that you'll learn, it varies. Some years we're bringing in about 300,000. One year we had a great couple of donors. We got to 1.8. So it does fluctuate depending on sort of those relationships. Where again, an endowment allows you to kind of spread it over. Just to give you a sense into the weeds so that you can kind of do some comparison. Our annual budget is about $650K. We have a $350K fundraising goal yearly, and then with the endowment interest, we're bringing in 300, so that helps us get there. Now, obviously, if we get more money than that, then we don't tap into the endowment, and it just keeps growing. We have about $8 million, and that's been over 10 years. It's taken us to get to that point, and that's with it earning interest and having more money go in there. We have what we call an advocacy committee, because I don't know that even though it's fundraising isn't just about like used car sales, going in and asking for money. It really is about sharing the story of what you're doing and asking people to be part of that idea, right? The idea of what we're doing here as a foundation is really to create lasting impact and not just a one-year flash in the pan kind of concept. And so for me, it was so helpful to come in, being new to an organization, and not be stressed from the moment I walked into the door about where's the money coming in, can I afford what I need to do to help the kids. I knew that we would be okay and that we could just keep building and kind of figure out where we go. And this is the phrase I really like that I've learned in the process, would you consider joining us? So it's not, you don't need to think of fundraising as this idea where you had to beat people over the head and be begging for money and turn it into something really big. It really is just sharing the story. And for me, it's stories like the one that with Danielle, that once you have those type of information and some of the data, the rest really kind of comes together. People want to help good organizations that they believe. And endowment also allows you to understand that this organization isn't going to shut down, so that when I'm giving you your money, it's not something that you're going to just waste and throw out the door, and I'm going to look back and never be able to see the impact that I had. So that's just a little nutshell that I wanted to kind of throw out there before Ron kind of gets into the weeds of really kind of how we did it. But from my perspective, it was really helpful to already step into an organization that had some structure in place that I could just then pick the ball up and then run with it. Any questions from me? I know Ron's gonna, and I can answer questions later after you guys get stuff. Because I think once Ron's telling us more, you probably can get questions from there.
Whenever you're ready, I'll read
Yep.
Ron's bio too. So take your time, Carrie.
No, that's it. That's all. I'm a TV person. Short,
That's a
hopefully
great.
to the point.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Carrie. That was great. Now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Ron Millender. Ron is a Clemson University trained mechanical engineer and has been a Greenwood County resident for more than 40 years. He spent over 3 decades with Capsugel, now Lonza, where he helped develop the process involved in modern-day capsule making. Ron rose to vice president and general manager for the Americas before retiring in 2011. Through the years, Ron has served his community by providing leadership in the nonprofit sector through board service. He has served on numerous nonprofit boards, including the Lander Foundation Board, Piedmont Technical College Foundation Board, the YMCA, Wesley Commons. He has also served as chair of the following boards: the United Way, Beyond Abuse, Hospice Care of the Piedmont, and Self Regional Healthcare Board for 12 years. Ron has received recognition as the South Carolina Ambassador for Economic Development in 2015 and was elected to the Greenwood County Hall of Fame in 2023. Ron was appointed by the governor to serve on the Job Economic Development Authority Board. Ron began his involvement with the Greenwood Promise in 2012 by providing research, cost-benefit projections, community presentations, and implementing fund development. Ron is the current chair of the Promise Board He worked diligently to launch phase 2, and has worked on phase 1 in 2017 and phase 2 in 2023. Ron will correct me if I'm getting any of this sideways. And it's my pleasure to have him here with us today. Please help me welcome Ron Millender. All right, you know what to do from here. Thank you.
Yeah, so all that board stuff, it really just means I don't know how to say no. And especially when you're retired, people kind of expect that. So this presentation. So just to let you know, some of these slides will surprise me as well as you. I worked on this thing the last couple of days. I had it figured out last night, saved it, and then overnight I was thinking, nah, that's not right. So I got up this morning to change a few slides. So there's a few slides in here that will surprise me as well as you. This timeline, you'll see this slide a couple times, I'm going to come back and refer to it. So how the Greenwood Promise got started. So in 2010, the Greenwood Partnership Alliance did a strategic plan and decided they wanted to put a scholarship program in place to fund and have a well-skilled workforce to attract industry to come in. And like most strat plans, it went in the book, it went on the shelf, it never got kind of taken down. People talked about it from time to time, but really didn't do anything beyond that, because like a lot of ideas, it just wasn't time. Then sometime in 2011, so I worked for Capsule, part of Pfizer Pharmaceutical, and Phil Vickery, who worked for me, was on the foundation board, and Pfizer had decided at that time that they were going to outsource the human resource department to other organizations than the Pfizer organization. So our HR director was no longer there, and our support came from a person in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Bill Vickery was at a dinner one night. He said it was bored as all get out. He said he was just couldn't wait to leave. But the HR person across from him, they got talking, and he was telling them about this ambition that the Partnership Alliance had about making a scholarship, a scholarship program, and she told him about Kalamazoo Promise. Kalamazoo Promise was the first promise program in the U.S., started in 2005. And I often think about the coincidences of stuff happening. If he had been sitting at that boring dinner, sitting across the table from this lady from Kalamazoo, Michigan, who Pfizer had decided was going to be an HR person remote, which didn't work. I didn't like it. And had talked about Kalamazoo Promise, the Greenwood Promise never would have happened. And I would have spent the last 12 years hunting and fishing instead of working on Greenwood Promise. But anyway, that's how that really got started, was a discussion like that. I think we talked about our vision, foster community, actively engage in education. Our mission is to provide tuition-free pathway for Greenwood County students to obtain post-secondary education needed to develop highly skilled workforce. That's what we were after initially. But also improve overall quality of life and increase the economic vitality of the organization, of the community. Our core values. We believe in the transformational power of education. So these are really, we put this together probably 7 or 8 years after we got started this program, kind of determined this is what we are as an organization. We're not just a scholarship program. We don't just get handout money. We really believe these are the things that's important for Greenwood County to grow and prosper. And that's kind of the same thing you guys got to figure out is, what are you about? Are you just a scholarship program? There's a ton of those out there. Or are you more than that? Passion about economic growth and community success, we advocate that every citizen in Greenwood County can benefit from the promise. This isn't just about students. When you take a look, I'll show you some slides in a minute. Everything is tied to education. And as an engineer and an operational guy, every year we would always sit down in the first part of the year and talk about what's the one thing we can do at Capsugel They improve the quality of the capsules, improve customer service, increase our profit line. What is that one thing we can do that will make the whole organization run better and be better? And when I looked at the research about what education means in a community, education is the one thing. I don't know anything else that you can improve on in a community that will have as big an impact long-term to that community. And that's what I see as education can do. It can transform a community and make it different than it is. It's a long-term thing. It's not short-term. You don't get that short-term, put money in and see benefit come out. This is a long-term investment, which is why it's tough to get money. Because most people want to see, give that money, get my name on a building, right away I'm happy. That's not how this works. That's not how education works. We encourage teamwork, partnership, and accountability. So the short-term and long-term benefits, the short-term stuff, you get kids to get into school, but the long-term part of that is when they get out of school and get a job. The number one predictor of someone going to college is if someone in the family has already been to college before. So we get that first kid who's no one in his family has ever been to college, never even thought about going to college. We can get him. And he's got 4 or 5 siblings. Maybe we get them. Now we got 6. And those 6 kids, when they grow up and have a family, good chance their kids are going to go to school. So the next generation, those 6, they have 3 kids and now 18. And the next generation, they come along. So this is a multiplying effect and impact you can have on the community. That's why this is long-term, and that's why we have the endowment. We do this in perpetuity. So this isn't a program that's going to be here for 3 or 4 years and go away. Long after I'm gone, this Greenwood promise should still be in place. Well, all we're committed to keeping the promise. There we go. So I did show this. So this is the kindergarten medallion ceremony. A friend of mine was taking this picture. I didn't know that they were actually in the audience. And this is one of my neighbors. I didn't actually know this was one of my neighbor's kids. But this is the most fun time of the year when we get to go to kindergarten ceremonies, as Kerry talked about. And we get to, while they get the diploma coming across the stage, we talk about Greenwood Promise, kind of to them. So it says you can go to college with Promise, and it has their college, their high school graduation school year on it. So every year it's a new one. And we talk to their parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and whoever else may be there, but we're making a promise to them, and that's what the endowment is about. We're making a promise to them. Whatever program we have in place, when they graduate from high school, the funds will be there to put that in place. So we can't fund everything we want to fund right now, but that's where we are. This is slow. Just our phase implementation. So phase 1, we started August of 2017, and we graduated class of 2017. That was the Diploma Certificate of Associates at Technical College. Phase 2, August 2023, we started the last 2 years with a bachelor's degree. And then phase 3 would be what Kalamazoo and some of the big promise programs are. And that's to be all 4 years of a bachelor's degree. If anyone who lives in Greenwood County graduates high school, you can imagine the impact when we get to that point, what that will mean. Greenwood County will be different than it is today. It will grow to be different, and to be different from anyone else around us. All right, so back to the timeline. So 2011, they found out about Kalamazoo Promise. They talked about it, and they thought about it. And Mark Warner, who was the board chair for the Partnership Alliance, he...
It's the ghost of Dr. Delahow. He's like,
It's not on the time. I don't have any time. Anyway, he talked about it, and so I had retired in 2011. And Mark and Dr. Ray Brooks from Piedmont Tech came to see me and said, "Ron, we need you. We got this thing, this Kalamazoo Promise thing. You take a look at it and just tell us what you think. And see if it's something that could be applicable for Greenwood County, and if it is, how will we actually do it? So that's the arrow that reminded me when I actually got started with that. And I said, sure. And I figured I'd spend a month or two, I'd take a look at it, kind of give a report, and then go back to trying to figure out how to be retired, because no one teaches you how to retire, but I was getting the hang of it a little bit. And so I did that, and I started doing research on education and Kalamazoo Promise and the benefits. And I'd be at 3 o'clock in the morning searching for an answer on the computer. My wife said, what are you doing? I said, well, I started at 10 o'clock trying to find the answer to this one question I had. And when I found that answer, it generated 3 more questions I had to go chase down. So here I am, 14 years later, still chasing down answers on education and trying to figure that out. I'm a mechanical engineer. If someone had told me years ago that I'd be looking at education and really studying it, I'd have said, you're crazy, because that's not anything I had thought about. But anyway, I started doing that, and so I did a lot of research, and I'll show you some of the numbers from the research. And see, I'm surprised by the slides as well. Yes. Kalamazoo Promise. So November 10, 2005, Dr. Janice Brown, who was the superintendent in Kalamazoo public school systems, went to 3 anonymous billionaires and said, our enrollment in our public schools is declining more than 1% a year. Industry's moving out. There's nothing to keep people here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. A lot of plants are closed. And she wanted a very simple concept. If I could promise all my graduates they can go to college for 4 years, at least 4 years, we can keep them here and we can grow this community. It will have something beneficial for industry to come and take a look at it. And so they did. Those 3 anonymous billionaires are still there, still funding it. Carrie, you were there November. And the way this works is Kalamazoo Promise asked these 3 donors come and say, what do you need? And they tell them what they want to do, either scholarship-wise, staff-wise, whatever. And then write them a check. And they've been doing that since 2005. If you can find those benefactors somewhere around here, send them to me first. I'll warm them up for you, and I'll send them back to you. But they have a staff of 19, about 19 people. We have a staff of 2.5. And quite frankly, what I'll tell you is some of the stuff we're doing outdoes the 19 people they have. I mean, the staff we have really works hard and does stuff. And I think if you're hungry enough and you focus enough, there's a lot of stuff. There's stuff they do that we can't do, but that's kind of where they are. So why is post-secondary education such a big deal? So this is kind of, I'm going to give you a flavor of this. So just to let you know, I have given this presentation over 3.5 hours. There's 2 organizations that come in, we want to hear it all, soup to nuts. And I gave it to them, and when I got finished, I asked them, did you want to see any more slides? And somebody in the back said, yes, I had some more slides, but I didn't. I'm not going to. So if you look at any kind of internet research, and that's kind of what I did, it will tell you that by 2020 and then 2025 and maybe 2030, because we're past 2025, 65% of all new jobs will require more than a high school diploma. And most everybody had a program in place to try and get to that 65% by 2025. Even Alabama. Now 65 by 25 initiative. Alabama did. Now we didn't have that in South Carolina at the time. We do have one now. But Alabama even had one. I was like, okay, if they got it, then we got to go after this. This shows you the percentage workforce by education attainment level. So the bottom, the blue is high school dropouts. The orange is high school graduates. Next one's some college, an associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree. 1973, 72% of the people who had jobs were high school diploma or less. By 2018, that number had grown, they had 38% high school diploma or less. This is the education attainment level in Greenwood that we did in 2015. 50% of the population in Greenwood County had high school diploma or less. If we want to get to 65% to try to do industry, we had to do something different.
Those figures, 73 through 2018, are based on what data? That's for Kalamazoo, or
No, why is that
National
comes to the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
so national average?
Lumina, yeah, that's national data. Going in the last one is Greenwood, where Greenwood is presently in the population. This is the education attainment level in 2015. I've got other graphs that show this is further along. So the 2025 needs, we're going to be 65%, not actually 64%, have a high school diploma, have some post-secondary education. This is what South Carolina was in 2015. 46% had a high school diploma or less. Greenwood County, as I said before, 50% or less. I put this graph together to show when I made a presentation to county council, so each one of the council members could see where their district was. If they weren't convinced that we need to do something to improve post-secondary education, that was kind of a reminder of that. So we need to have education is important, and we see that. But a percent of high school completers going to college, going to post-secondary education in South Carolina from 2006 to 2016 was declining. Big need, but people aren't going to college. There's a reason for that. This is where Greenwood County's stacked up against the statewide numbers. Solid 7-8% below the state average. Terry showed you a graph a little while ago where we were way above the state average now. Something changed in 2017. Tuition cost escalation, higher education in South Carolina. We talked about housing, we talked about national health care. This is the median incomes. That's what's happening with the cost of education. And you see the date, that started in 2001. Tuition mandatory fees cost per year. Gradual rise, and then in 2000, 2001 takes a dramatic jump. And it keeps going up. The top one there is Clemson. Landers in red. Actually, Lander was more expensive than Clemson back in the 1990s. Now it's competing with that. The green line is the average of four-year colleges, public colleges in South Carolina, without the MUSC. And you see Piedmont Tech has almost tripled in cost since then. That's the cost of education. Earnings and unemployment rates by education attainment level. This is some of the research I did. This is 2015. I looked at it again a couple months ago to see. This comes from Bureau of Labor Statistics. They actually have this graph. Less than high school diploma at that time. These are the earnings. And that's the unemployment rate. Not participation rate, but unemployment. So the people who are actually trying to get a job, that's the unemployment rate they have. And you can see that's a pretty good correlation between education level, earnings, and unemployment. There's something called participation rate, which I didn't know about until I started doing this research. So participation rate is the rate of people who are eligible to work, who are actually in the workforce. The unemployment rate comes from that. So the ones who aren't even in the workforce are not part of the unemployment rate. Kind of makes sense. Unemployment rate now is about 5%. 95% of people aren't working. So it's kind of evident. But if you look at by education level, about 42% of the people who have less than a high school diploma are participating in the workforce. 58% of the people without a high school diploma are not even in the job market. And of that 42% who are actually in the job market, the unemployment rate is higher than this for the rest of them. And you can see how that goes up. High school diploma, 54% participating, 46% not even in the job market. Some college, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, advanced degrees. Everybody poo-poos the fact that getting a college education is not worth it. And I'll grant that. Some people getting a 4-year bachelor's degree in a major that they don't work in the major that they got the degree in. That's okay. They're working. Might be a machine operator, might be something else, but 73% of them are working, whereas if they don't get that degree, a lot of them are not working. Participation rate nationally. This is a graph 1950 to 2015. The rise you see from 1963 up to 1989, 2002, that's women coming into the workforce. But our participation rate now, this has not gotten better over the years. Okay, something jumped up here on the screen. It's come down, and we're back where we were in 1973 as far as participation rate. People were not in the job market. Why is that? I don't know. A lot of reasons. One could be the demand for higher education in the job market is driving people who don't have the education out of it. So a website just popped up.
That might be a touch screen where you can swipe your screen manually on the screen behind you.
Yeah, I can't see it on this screen anymore. This was a study that looked at the job growth after recession. So this was in 2016, and what it shows is after recession of 2010, new jobs created, those with a bachelor's degree, new jobs created, those with an associate's degree, and this is new jobs grown with those with a high school diploma or less. New jobs being created are going to require more than a high school diploma.
Trying to help you. Does that help?
That's good.
Okay.
Correlated education. So this is 65% of inmates do not have a high school diploma. They represent about 20% of the population. 65% of those are, 65% of the inmates that do not have a high school diploma. Incarceration, any given day, 1 out of 10 male high school dropouts will be in prison on any given day. Not lifetime, any given day. Increased graduation rates by 10%. There's a study that was done that showed a correlation between education level and crime. It said we have a 10% increase in graduation rates. There'd be 33,000 less murders worldwide in the nation, in the U.S. 68 in South Carolina. We could increase graduation rates 10%. Graduation rates in South Carolina hover around 80%, 78 to 80%. Female high school dropouts compared to peer group with a bachelor's degree, 6 times more likely to have a baby, 9 times more likely to be a single parent. The infant mortality rate in the first year is twice that for a mother who is a high school dropout than it is for a mother peer group who has a bachelor's degree. volunteers in the community. So I looked at a lot of stuff. This is just the tip of the iceberg, okay? I looked at a lot of stuff. How is education correlated in a community? Volunteers in the community. 9% of those without a high school diploma volunteer. 17% with a high school diploma, 29% bachelor's degree, associate's degree, 42% with bachelor's degree or higher. Imagine a community where 70% of people had a bachelor's degree or had that kind of volunteer rate. What would your community be like if that was your situation? Dropouts are 3.5 times more likely to be arrested than high school graduates. Crime rates, a lot of stuff goes with that. This is a graph that kind of shows the economic and social benefit of education. That's kind of a summary of what I was talking about. So that's kind of where all that stuff is. All right, that's my research. Let's get back to the timeline. So what we did was I did all that work and put presentations together, did economic impacts, did calculations on payback and what it would mean to a community if we did all that stuff. Tell you what. We did all that stuff and then we said, okay, this is the story. And we decided to do a feasibility study, and that's where we brought Convergent in to do a feasibility in the community and say, will this community support this program? And they went out and asked questions, told us on the data we had, all the kind of stuff we did, and said, would you support this? And the feasibility came back, it's almost self-sufficient. We asked Convergent to do the study, and then Convergent to do the fundraising, so yeah, I kind of expected it to come back positive, but it did. And so we decided to launch a campaign. That was in 2015. The mistake we made at that time is we decided we could do may not want to want to hear, but at that time we decided we could do the fundraising ourselves. So we got Convergent. We paid them 25% of their fee, so they would come in once a week and kind of check and see what we're doing and give us advice. I would never do that again. Because all they did was come in and kind of tell us what we already knew, and they weren't they're asking for the money, and asking the money is the hard part. But we did it. And what happened was everybody volunteered they were going to make contacts and they'd go in and ask money. And this is going to be like a 1.5-year campaign, 2 years. About 6 months into it, everybody who had a paying job went back to the paying job. And so you end up with whoever's kind of left over to do the fundraising part of it. So if you go that route, get ready to do it, a lot of work. But it worked. What worked for us is we got 3 big gifts right off the bat. We got 3 $1 million pledges. 2 from organizations and 1 from a family. And I was sitting at this table with another guy. We were talking to his family sitting across the table from us, and I was going through my presentation, about 30 minutes of the presentation. About 10 minutes into it, the lady said, I think we can do $1 million. I stopped. And then I went back to my presentation, and the guy sitting beside me kicked me. And I stopped and said, you said you think you can do $1 million? They said, yeah, we really believe in this program. We have faith in this program. And we want to pledge $1 million, and they paid it day one. It wasn't a pledge. Over time, it was day one. Those are the kind of big wins that when you get those, they build momentum. It also encourages other people to give that. We hadn't got those 3 big gifts right off the bat. Big wins. We'd have a tough time raising the rest of it. So in 2016, we got close to the $5 million goal. We decided we needed a year in advance to announce this was going to happen. So in August of 2016, we announced we were going to, the graduating class of 2017, high school graduating class of 2017, we would do the Greenwood Promise. You can go to technical college for free. If the major is offered at Piedmont Tech, you have to go there. If it's not, you can go to any other state support, any other technical college outside of Greenwood. You're going to go tuition free. And at that time, now The state kind of pays for most of the people going to technical colleges now. At the time we did that, we had estimated it was going to cost us close to $150,000 a year to do all the students we wanted. That first year we did that, we increased the number of kids going to Piedmont Tech by about 40%. We only fund full-time students. We increased the number of full-time students going to Piedmont Tech 85%. Because we said we're not going to fund part-time students because they don't graduate. Full-time students do. Kind of a tough love thing. We really dramatically increased the number going full-time, and they got a much better chance now of graduating. Even if they don't graduate, the fact that they went to college is a big deal. That's a big step. A lot of these kids who've never been to college, knowing the family encouraged them to go to college, that was a really big deal. Whoops. So we got that. We started phase one. I talked about results. I've got a bunch of graphs and results. They're all positive. Just take more for that. I can show you if you need to see them. But anyway, they were. It really amazed. We were amazed. We knew what we wanted to measure, sort of. And we started measuring that, and then we found other stuff to measure. The impact it had on minority students going to Piedmont Tech full-time and graduating. Triple in 2 years. There's nothing. Show me a program anywhere that has that kind of impact on minority students going to college and graduating. Now, the small numbers, but it didn't happen before, and I hadn't seen anything that would make that happen since. This stuff can work. So in 2021, we started fundraising for phase two. Successful phase one, keep the momentum going, started fundraising for phase two. And this is when we converted in full-time to help us. Now, I'll talk to you about that at some point, so it's not part of my presentation, but I think if they do it right, it's really good. But also, just prepare to go pay, go spend some money. So just got to decide whether it's worth it or not. We launched phase two in August of 2023. Last 2 years of bachelor's degrees for juniors and seniors. I had a tough time kind of getting the word out about the program because most people at that age had known that the Greenwood Promise is only for Piedmont Tech. Even though we kept telling them, hey, you still come out, you're eligible now. It took a while to get that started. We started that first at graduates, we're in phase two, 2024. We have about 20, as Karen mentioned, we have a little over 50 students now, covering them for the last 2 years, tuition free. And so they go to college tuition free. And I'll talk about this in a minute. One of the things you got to understand, always taking a look at your program, reevaluate where you are. Is it giving you what you want to get? So we're right now in the midst of taking a look at where we are and deciding we want to stay where we are. We want to make some changes, some tweaks, some modifications. Keep the theme of where we are, but that's where we actually got a meeting sometime in April to go through that again. So that's kind of the timeline of where we were. For the very first initial thought process in 2010 of having a program, to actually doing some exploration in 2011, to actually doing the research to take a look at it. In 2012, we started with the first scholarship program in 2017. Now, hopefully it won't take you guys that long to get there. We were going for a little bit bigger bucks, and when we did that, we could do Piedmont Tech fairly inexpensively if we had the right kind of money. We had pretty big donors which helped us kind of take us there. Keys to success. Have a true and recognized champion, someone who is going to drive us, who's not going to give it up. It's not going to be a 6-month assignment. It's not going to be a 1-year assignment. It's going to kind of be a commitment until it's done. But you got to have a staff. You got to have a group. Sport team is motivated. You've got some leaders in there. But the main thing, you got worker bees. Okay? Everybody can't just sit around and talk big. You got to have some people who are actually going to put the add that and do some work. That's the biggest part. Don't put a committee together that just looks good. Put one together that's actually getting the work done. Alignment on the mission and expectations. Know what you're going after. What you're trying to do. I talk about symptom cause remedy. That's the Donna, anybody knows Donna Duran? Back from the Quality Gurus, that was what he was all about. Find out what you want to accomplish, what the issue is, look for the root causes of why you can't get there, and then put the solution in place. Most people jump to the solution and then they say, okay, here's what we want to do. Let's figure out what it would do for us. That's backwards. Figure out what you want it to do for you, and then put a solution in place. Measurable outcomes. Some feel good stuff. Sending kids to college is feel good, right? Who would argue against that? Some people will give money because it feels good. Other people like me are going to want to see the benefit. Show me the numbers. Show me the data. Tell me exactly how this is going to impact stuff. So you got to have both of those, because you be talking to all these audiences. There's no one message that's going to apply to any one person, to everybody. You've got to have multiple messages that fit multiple people. Clear expectation of your funding required for each expectation outcome. Nope. We put down, we did an estimate of what it would cost to do phase 1, then phase 2, and then phase 3. So far, we've been within about 20% of that number. And so we did a lot of homework to make sure we got there. But make sure you got that, so you don't say, I need $1 million to do this, and then you find out, I need $5 million to do it. And you disappoint everybody from that. It also kind of gets against your credibility. Clear and agreed message within the steering committee and the various audiences. Make sure you have that cleared out. You can't be going to one person one time and saying this, and then going to his spouse and telling them something different. Make sure you have a clear message there. Recognize and celebrate successes along the way to build momentum. We celebrate the heck out of those $3 million checks. Pictures, put them up everywhere we can promote that. Here's what we got. Now, a $1 million donor wanted to be anonymous. They weren't looking for the name out there. And so that's even more. A lot of people want to be recognized for it. The fact they would do that. And since then, we've never asked them for a penny again. That was well enough. They've given us another $500,000 total, probably. Close to that, maybe more. They just sent us a check. I'm never going to ask them for money again, because they have to do that. Understand challenges in fundraising. It's not easy, not for everyone. Sounds like it is. Sounds like I got a good story, got a good presentation. If I tell these people, if I just go and present this, they'll write a check. Based on personal experience, it doesn't work that way. It's tough. And a lot of people who say they can go out and they're willing to go out and raise money and help you and make the introductions for you, they might have, as Gary can tell you, they might or might not follow through with that. And it is what it is. It's just a lot of pressure for them. So just know what you're going into. Make sure you have that. Set short-term and long-term goals along the way, and then evaluate as you go along what you're doing. So it's kind of some of the keys to success in the fundraising part of it. What's the end game for us? Education drives everything. nothing, I don't know anything that comes close to changing the culture of a community more than education and attainment level. Correlate go to college and high school graduation rates. So I did a little study to see if we want graduation rates to increase. What's the correlation between percent of high school graduates going to college? There's a clear correlation with that. I'm not sure which one comes first. Is it graduation rates or is it going to college? One thing I can tell you, in communities where they've had this promise, counties in Michigan has seen crime rates, juvenile crime rates decline. They have more kids going to college. The graduation rates have improved. It's clear that if you got that, that's what happened for you. It would change the demographics of Greenwood County from the bottom up, instead of what most people try to do is from the top down. Top down is building more jails, okay? We'll just, when they, juvenile crime, we'll put them in jail. Bottom up is, we can do the education thing, and we won't need those jails in the future because crime is related to education table level. That's my belief. Now, everybody has that same belief, but that's my belief. Change your culture. Imagine a community with the bottom. Oh, I didn't show that to you. So, I have a graph, and I took a look at where Greenwood County ranked in percent of high school graduates going to college. 46 counties, right? Before Greenwood Promise, we were around number 24. 24, right in the middle. In 2024, we were number 3 in the state.
Wow.
Barely. Almost number 4, but 3, 4. Then we've kind of stayed there in the top 5 in the state, percent of high school graduates from the college now. And that's without phase 2 and 3, right? That's just P1 Tech. Well, it bubbles over into 4-year degrees. We're beginning to transform Greenwood County. But you're not going to see that in the demographics and the crime rates. It's going to take a while. So, people to understand this is a long-term commitment. I think that's what you're after is too. Is that, I was telling Stacy that we have an organization, the Pathway House in Greenwood County. It's a good organization for homeless. Right now, you can go and give them $75,000, and 9 months later, they'll have a tiny home for a homeless person, a family to stay in, and they'll put your name on the outside. You give me $75,000 for Greenwood Promise, 20 years later, 20 years from now, the community would have changed, but it's not instant. You're competing against that as well. There's only so much money out there, and you're competing against other organizations, so make sure your message is that it's not going to be instant gratification, I don't think. It's long-term impact on generations to come. So this is the last slide. Dang.
You're doing good.
I've done good.
You're right on time.
I know.
I'm amazed as well.
It's called the Bregman Principle. And this principle is about everything you do has an impact on somebody, whether you know it or not. Every life that has been lived until today is part of a woven braid of life. It takes every person's story to create history. Your life will help determine the course of history. I mean, I think it, but it will. Phil Vickery's meeting, at a board dinner meeting with an HR person from Kalamazoo, Michigan, started Greenwood Promise. I'm hoping 20 years from now, it will help transform Greenwood County. That little conversation, and linking it with something else, and linking it with something else, gets you this. You think you don't have much of an impact, but you do. Every action you take will reflect on someone else's life, someone else's decisions, someone else's future, both good and bad. You don't do it, the slide you had, the one slide you had. If we do this, this is what's going to happen. If we don't do this, this is what's going to happen. Both the good and the bad part of it. So, anyway, I have more slides, but I'm going to stop there, I think. Okay. Questions now, or?
Yeah, question, answer. So let me just say before y'all ask him some questions that I'm so excited that Ron and Carrie are here today because I see the parallels between the Greenwood Promise and what we are promising. Our school is already promising to the state of South Carolina an educational outcome in Ag Ed. We're promising future leaders in the future workforce. And what's going to happen if we don't? And I have statistics for you later today because Georgia and I had an initial meeting with Carrie and Ron, and he talked about data, and how he stayed up till 3 a.m.